SwordofAllah has made a challenge. He says that in order to argue against the Quran, you must first argue against your own position. And that's fine. I've accepted his challenge, and here it goes. The Quran is false, and the sun is hot. The sun is not a place where we could live. There'd be no life here on earth without the light it gives. They might be giants. But anyway, seriously, there must be some connection between the arguments being defended and argued against. And he says that it's evolution. I forgot who he was talking to, but apparently the guy was saying something about evolution, or I don't know why. Perhaps he's an atheist, so SwordofAllah assumed that he believed in evolution. And that's fine. But I'm only going to accept this challenge if the Quran and evolution are mutually exclusive. That is, if one of them is true, then the other one is false. They both can't be true at the same time. They both might be false, and Christianity might be true, or something like this, Flying Spaghetti Monster. Because normally I wouldn't argue for evolution. I don't really think it's worth it. And if nobody wants to, if SwordofAllah doesn't want to take me up on this challenge, or if he quits sometimes, it doesn't mean he's a coward. He probably just doesn't want to spend any more time arguing with me. He probably doesn't think it's worth it. And if that's the case, then somebody else can take up the position and start arguing against evolution and for the Quran. But they must also accept that they are going to be mutually exclusive. That's the only reason I'm going to make this video and start this argument, which I think is going to be pretty fun anyway. So anyway, seriously, I'm going to make the statement that evolution is true. It has great predictive powers. Not necessarily whatever Darwin thought, but the statement that all life on Earth came from, has a common ancestor. So all life on Earth has a common ancestor. That's going to be my position on evolution. And against the Quran. Well, I haven't really thought about what I'm going to say, but since we're talking about the sun, let's say, what does the Quran say? We made for a sign of them the night, and we stripped them of the day, and they were left in darkness. And the sun moves on a course to its resting place. So, defend against this. Isn't it more obvious to say that the sun goes to its resting place if the earth is stationary? Otherwise, explain in our modern science what we know of the sun. How does it go to a resting place? And if you would comment on stripping the people of the day, what does that mean? I'm saying that the day and the night are like domes that go over the earth, and one is pulled back to reveal the other. Apparently the day is the covering, so when it is peeled off, then we can see all the stars. So anyway, explain how those two matched modern scientific views and why that was in the Quran. Now, I can't defend against evolution because you haven't said much against it. But before I do, I need to know what you think of evolution. When did people arrive? How old were they? How many generations? About? When was the earth made? How old is the universe? That kind of thing. So yeah, you need to explain those so I can argue against that. But anyway, I hope this will be a fun conversation. I actually don't think anybody's going to be convinced, and that's not my purpose. I'm actually conducting an experiment right now, which I'm not going to tell anybody of, so it's a single-blind experiment, scientific experiment. Oh, and speaking of science, talking about evolution is fairly scientific. I can't just say, well, evolution actually means this, or it means that, or it could mean all of these things, or it's just ambiguous. For instance, if evolution was to say, all life is related to each other, well, that can mean anything, but if I say all life has a common ancestor, actually that could probably mean anything too. I could say, well, we're all star children, right? We all came from the sun, or perhaps we all came from God. We're all God's children. There we go. I could just say that. But no, I'm not going to accept those kind of word games. We all know what I mean when I say ancestor. And speaking of the Quran, I'm also not going to accept those kind of word games. So if you're going to say that it means such and such, you have to explain you have to make sure that that is the actual meaning. If you show something before people knew what the meaning actually was, before they knew what the actual facts was, and they said this is the meaning, and we're going to see if this matches the actual facts, then that's acceptable. But just saying, oh well, it could mean this or it could mean that, and therefore it fits. No, because I can say we're all star children. But yes, we're all ancestors. So if you start making that distinction, if you don't make the distinction between, well, just assuming all these new translations, all these new meanings to the words, then I'm just going to say that we're all star children, and I will say that we're all ancestors of God or something. So anyway, I hope this is a fun discussion. I plan to have lots of fun, because I really don't care if I lose or win. That's actually not the point of this, and the point of my experiment I will reveal much later. But anyway, I hope everybody has lots of fun. Oh, and I'm still trying to figure out, what does God need, Allah, with a sword? My weapon of choice is a glaive. For long distance fighting, you just can't beat one of these.